Today in our program, we hope to talk to a number of people, seek their opinions in terms of what they consider to be the state of affairs between the black community in Halifax and the police department. Mr. Warrington, you're a longtime resident of the Gottingen Street area. What would you say the relationship between the black community and the police is at the present time? Is it good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, it's not too good.
How do you mean? What are the problems you see?
Well, there are times when certain police come up in the area that it seems that we have more trouble than others. And whether they're bringing it on themselves, which times I think they are, I don't know. Sometimes I'm there and I see what goes on, and sometimes it's told to me. Well, it's hearsay evidence, but it's substantiated from some very well-meaning people.
I see. So then there are particular policemen who are more notorious than others?
I would say yes.
Are you familiar with the recent shootings in Toronto and with the Evans and the young Johnson?
I am.
Do you think such a thing could happen in Halifax?
Yes.
What makes you say that?
Well, because of some of the things that I've seen. I have seen people picked up off the street for no reason whatsoever. In fact, one instance, I was on the west side of Gottingen Street, and I watched a patrol wagon pick up a drunk case on a lawn in front of a Herm Manor. And just as they was getting ready to leave, 3 young black girls came up the street. They were all underage, and they grabbed one girl in particular and started to shove her in the wagon. Well, I knew the girl, I knew her parents. And I walked across the street, and I told them, I said, "What are you taking her for?" "Well, it's none of your business." I said, "There must be some reason." I said, "It's somebody's business." I said, "I have a right to ask you." I said, "I belong to Civil Liberties. I'm on the Executive Council." And I said, "This girl, to my knowledge, has never been in any trouble." I said, "She walks around the street with the rest of the young girls, but I said, she's never been in any trouble, and for to grab her off the street like that," I said, "there's got to be some reason for her." I said, "What is it?" I said, "Her mother and father lives in the building," and I said, "She's a juvenile. Why don't you go in the house to see them before you take her?" I said, "It's kind of embarrassing for to take a young girl like that right off the street in the middle of the afternoon." But they didn't pay no mind to me. They just picked up the girl and they took her down to the station. And come to find out, if they would have listened to me, they would have averted friction between her mother and father, and the police, because it was a case of mistaken identity.
I see. We were talking earlier, and you talked about the incident where police coming up to Union Square and using strong-arm tactics.
Well,
could you tell me something about that?
Once I was gotten out of my bid by an incident that happened over in Union Square. Apparently they came up there for somebody, maybe 3 or 4 of the black and whites, that's the cruiser cars, and maybe a half a dozen of the policemen. And they ran in there, and I was told, I didn't see it, that they came in there with the guns drawn and their billy sticks, and they just run roughshod over the people, and they took somebody out, and they took them down to the station. The outcome of what it was, I don't know, some small misdemeanor. Then on a case here, the last case that I heard of not very long ago, I happened to be downtown on a meeting at that night. When I came up, there was a call went into the police station over a Frisbee on the south end of Union Square near Maitland Street. It was quite a warm night. A bunch of the people were standing outside, or sitting outside. One woman had her door open, and apparently the constables come rushing up there with the billy sticks out, and some of them had their guns out. And they went into the building, and one fellow sitting there watching TV, and they were supposed to crack him over the head with the billy stick and drag him out too. And apparently they knocked a couple of the rest of them in the head with the billy stick. And they made the remark to the people, "We're going to get rid of all the blacks and all the niggers in the city."
I'm talking now with 2 Halifax constables, Constables Hollingshead and Constable Townsend. What would you gentlemen say is the state of affairs, police-community relations between the police department, Halifax Police Department, and the black community of Halifax, particularly in this Gottingen Ward 3 area?
Well, I would say it's probably as good as any of our relations throughout the city.
Is that good or bad?
That's good. We haven't, or myself, I haven't had any particular problems, and our office hasn't had any particular problems with the black community, not any more than what we would have from the white community or whatever. And as far as I'm concerned, we are working with a good relationship with the black community.
I see. Now, in the Gottingen Street area, what kinds of activity or what kinds of complaints bring the police most often into the Gottingen Street area?
Well, basically, you can break it down into two. We have two distinct time barriers that we're talking about here. Your late night calls deal more or less with alcohol-related calls and gang nuisances calls, and during the daytime, it primarily children nuisances and things along this line. Businesses having a little problems with gangs congregating in their storefronts. And
when you say gangs now, when we think of gangs, we think of a New York City thing where you have 25 and 30 people. Is that the situation here?
Gangs to different people mean different things. A gang could constitute 2 people. A gang could constitute 50 people. It all depends on the person that's reporting the gang nuisance. We investigate all gang complaints, and you really can't determine what is what until you actually arrive there. But they could range anywhere from 2 to 50.
Are you talking now about organized gangs, or are you talking about what would normally be described as kids who hang around corners?
Yes, these would be more or less groups of kids, friends that gather together on the street corners or on open areas. The majority of them are friends, and they just gather there for some place to go. The majority of the complaints that we're getting are related to this type of a group. To some people might think that they're up to no good, or that they're ready to cause trouble, and so that they report them to us. Then it's our duty to come up and probably have a talk to them and try to come to some kind of an understanding. Maybe there's a better place. Maybe they could go across the street where there's not that many houses, or at a sight of the public a little more. It all depends on the situation and the type of gang that we're talking about.
What would you say of the relationship between the police department and the black community is? Is it good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, I find that around here that's bad. I don't find that there's equal justice to the people around here. I find that the police officer around here will harass people just to move them from different spots.
Different spots?
Spots, yes.
They move you along?
Yes.
They don't like you standing around?
No.
What happens if you refuse to move?
If you refuse to move, right, they'll tell you a couple times. I understand that, right? But after you do move and you come back up that way, they get on your case, you know what I mean? Like, one night I was walking up here, right? I sat down over the steps here, talked to some friends. So they moved us. So we just walked back up toward this way, Gottingen, right? And they harassed us, right? They kept getting on our case. They drive by in the car and they would say something, right?
What kinds of things do they say to you when they're driving by?
Well, like, move your, I don't want to say it on TV or nothing, move your, it's a bad, it's a bad sense of humor of the police force.
We hear a number of the kids complain that the police harass them and move them along and so on. When the police come to move the kids along, is it generally as a result of a complaint from a merchant or some innocent person?
Majority of cases, that's what it is. If a policeman is walking on the street and if there's 2 or 3 people standing on the street corner or whatever, and they're not causing any trouble or causing a disturbance, chances are the policeman isn't going to bother them. But if we get a complaint as a result of a phone call from a citizen or something, that's usually when we approach the group, and they're usually told why we're there and just asked to move along.
I find that the police up here are much rougher than other part of town. Because I go to other part of towns, right, of this town, and the cops around the other part of town is calm, cool, and collect. And I do say there is a lot of police brutality. I mean, they're rough on the kids around here. Like, kids do little things like play baseball, football, just, right in this area here, and they get on your case. And, you're just fooling around, right? There's no need for them. You ain't breaking into a store or nothing, right?
Are there particular policemen that are better than others or worse than others?
See, I can't say that, right? Because some policemen are, some are good, right? Some, some treat you equal, and there's others that are very, very nasty.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, some police officers will help you in a sense, right? While the others, they'll just, try to get you so, could look good for them, whatever. I don't know, right? But they always think if they do a good job or something, such as bring a little kid in for playing baseball by the sidewalk, something, charge him for, let's see, ordinance. Like, I got a ticket for that before myself, right? And, they just think it's look good. They take little kids, and I mean little kids, and there's no need for it. Like earlier this year, there was a program called the diversion program, and it was held right over here. Now, diversion program is when youngsters get into trouble, and they take the youngsters and take them back to whatever they done wrong, and they try to help them, you know, such as, okay, you break a window, right? A youngster or something break a window. They'll take you back, and either you'll work for them to pay for the window in order, you know, going to court and all, right? Because, you know, it ain't necessary. I wouldn't call it a bad area because I've grown up here all my life, right? But there are different things that happen, you know, different activities around here that happen, some bad, some good, right? You know, I feel that they should have more programs around here than they got now. You know what I'm saying? Like the jurisdiction.
The police should be directly involved in this, or other agencies?
Other agencies, government agencies. I think the government should also crack down on the police force. Because I think, you know, like when you go to court against a cop or something for beating you up or something, right? You know, your chances of beating it, right, are very, very slim, right? You know, I think they should have an equal chance. This is what justice is all about, right? An equal chance to prove yourself, right? But when you go to court, the judge is saying, no way, no, because this is a cop, he knows what he's doing, he's in the right. It ain't like that. When you go to a courtroom to look for justice, all you find is just us, period, just us. Not justice, but just us.
What do you think about the relations between the police and the black community?
Well, to a certain extent, they are cooperative, but they don't really, you know, if they see a black person hanging on the streets, or if they're just, you know, in a place, any place, they can be anywhere. First thing they think, they want to steal something.
You heard about the shooting in Toronto and Buddy Evans? Mm-hmm. Do you think such a shooting could take place here in Halifax?
Possible. It's possible, very possible. In Preston, they shot, I'm from Preston, and they shot a guy in Preston. He was stealing. They shot him in the leg. And another one, they were running after, they shot after him, and he had to, this was in the winter, he had to jump in the water, and he froze to death, and he died. Now, if they see a white boy or that stealing, they don't shoot after him. They'll chase after him or run after him, but they'll never shoot that gun. What they'll do, they'll just run and catch him. If they don't catch him, he gets away. But because he was black and because he was stealing, they shot him.
There are some policemen who tries to do the job the way it should be done, and it's the bunch, or I should say maybe a dozen or more, maybe more, that is making it tough for the rest of the force and giving them a bad name.
What do you think how would you categorize the relationship between the black community and Halifax and the police department? Is it good, bad, indifferent?
I see it's in between good and bad at times.
How do you mean?
Well, at times the police will hassle a colored person here more so than what they would with a white person. And some kind of prejudice is going on too.
What do you gentlemen think about the relationship between the black community and Halifax Dartmouth and the various police departments?
Well, like, I think it could be a lot better, because like sometimes, you know, like we get blamed for things that we even don't do, eh? Like if something happens like downtown or someplace, the first place they pick on is Gottingen Street. And they just take, the brothers off the street, for no reason at all. They don't even read them their rights. You just say, get in the car and let's go.
You can't say nothing to the cops down here because they more or less just wait for you to say something. Then when, if you say something to them, like, in a way, they'll say it to you first. Sometimes they'll call you names and stuff, certain cops, right?
You mean racial names?
Yeah, they call you black and stuff. If you attack them with the same kind of thing, well, next thing you know, you have guys on your back, 4 and 5 cops coming in and beating you, And, that happened a lot of times.
What do you think could be done to deal with these problem policemen on the force?
Well, I say when these reports go in against these policemen, they should be investigated. And if they're found out to carry good enough evidence, they should be fired off the force. Because if they're penalized, that they're only going to get back at somebody else sooner or later at a later date. These internal investigations of a police department or a law enforcement agency ain't worth a damn in my mind. Because it's my feeling that the police is not going to penalize their own, and it's too wishy-washy, and it's too long. You go there to a police investigation, it's 3 or 4 months before they finish it. It goes from there to city council, and it's 3 or 4 months before you get through there. And to me, this is wrong. That's an elected body, and it's quite a number of votes in the police department. and they're looking at the votes that they're going to get in the next election. And it shouldn't go to them at all.
That's the police commission.
No, this is a council.
Oh, the council.
Let's go to council too.
I see.
And then it goes from there to the police commission. Well, hell, time that investigation is finished, a year has gone by.
Do you feel that blacks have no confidence in the investigative procedure as it stands now?
Absolutely none.
You feel that this has resulted in incidents taking place between the police and the community that go unheard of because the community just feels there's no point in pursuing them?
Well, I feel that there's many incidents that take place in the community that goes unheard of because the police has got, the people has got to the stage where they say, well, what the hell is the use? We're not going to get any satisfaction even if we are on the right. And if we do get any satisfaction, we're going to be run on afterwards.
And the Gottingen Street area has a reputation, rightly or wrongly, as being a bad area. How much of that would you say is, from a law enforcement point of view, is true, and how much is the area being victimized by reputation?
I think most of it is probably just by reputation, because today I don't believe we have, probably have less problems on the street compared to what you would in other areas, as far as we're concerned, dealing with use and drinking and that sort of complaint. I think the problem probably with Gottingen Street area may be the fact that it's an open area, business area. It's not enclosed like shopping centers. People driving, say, home from after work during the rush hour. If you see a drunk walking along the street, something like that, you saw him on Gottingen Street, everybody's going to see him. Whereas if the same situation took place at a shopping center, that party be inside and he'd be on scene actually. So perhaps it's because of the fact it's more open, more visible for people to see. That's probably what it is.
Gottingen Street has a lot of night spots, a lot of drinking spots and so on. How much does that contribute to law enforcement activity?
Well, it would contribute a lot as far as the drinking establishments go. Naturally, you have more drinking establishments, you're going to have more problems related to drinking.
Right. What would you like to see done about relationships between the police and the black community in Halifax in particular?
There ain't too much I could say that could be done. I mean, police have to do their role, and citizens are out there causing it, but still they should show some kind of sincerity for the citizens and try to help them out and have talks or something with citizens to see what their points really are.
What suggestions could you make in terms of improving the relationship between the community, the black community, and the police department?
Improving?
Yes.
Well, I feel that everybody should be on an equal basis. You understand? I mean, why pick on the fall guy because, like, we're black? But, I mean, why should we be the ones always picked on for this and that? I mean, without even the benefit of the doubt.
I see.
You know, they just say, you're black, you did it, that's what you do, that's your life, that's your heritage. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, like, the black people today are improving,
right,
but they don't want to understand that.
What do you think could be done to improve relations between the community and the police department?
Well, get some of them big shots that think they're hairy all out of the police force.